Hi, my name is Mia White, and I'm an intern with CSMG focusing on esports. Today, I'm with Executive Director of NJCAA, Jeff White. Hi, Jeff. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Mia. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
No, I'd be happy to. I am as you mentioned, the executive director of the NJCAAE, which, for those of you that don't know, stands for National Junior College Athletic Association Esports. I am also chief legal counsel for the NJCAA, which is the National Junior College Athletic Association. The NJCAAE is a sister or brother organization, whatever you prefer, of the NJCAA, and was founded in 2019. I actually filed the paperwork to create the separate legal entity in July of 2017, or excuse me, 2019, and then in August, we took steps to partner with an organization called Collegiate Sports Management Group, CSMG, which of course you know all too well, um, and, and also partnered with a platform provider with the hopes of starting competition as soon as the fall, which was pretty ambitious. That was in August. We actually launched competition 3 weeks later, and in the period of 3 weeks, had 13 institutions register and roughly 100 students participate in the fall. In the spring of 2020, we ended up with roughly 27 teams participating. When I say teams, I mean colleges. There were multiple teams within each college. And nearly 400 students participating. And so we saw some pretty explosive growth in a pretty short period of time. And really, I attribute a lot of that to the partnership with the NJCAA. And that really was the driving force in the creation of the association. The NJCAA has been around since 1938 and has over 500 member institutions. It's the second largest governing body in the world, and so collegiate governing body in the world. And so, over the course of the last several years, there had been more and more, with the proliferation of esports, more and more interest in esports. And so it made sense to create an esports avenue or opportunity within the NJCAA. However, Mia, as you well know, with the issue of amateurism and the way that works in traditional sports, and the lack of amateurism or that requirement on the esports side, we determined that ultimately it was necessary to create a separate legal entity. And so that's really the step that we took. And thanks in large part to the long-standing history, credibility, and excellence of the NJCAA, we saw quick, explosive growth and really anticipate that being the case moving forward.
That's amazing. So much growth in a little over a year, it seems like. So
Yeah, and it's what we've seen all through esports, and there's lots of different opportunities that are out there, and we are the only exclusive 2-year college governing body, and so we firmly anticipate that we will be, as the NJCAA is, the preeminent 2-year governing body choice.
mhm. So I know that you mentioned it a little earlier, but what was the impetus to create the NJCAA?
Yeah, as I said, it really was born out of interest, and it was born out of strong interest from our membership. Prior to joining the NJCAA, I was actually a vice president at one of the member institutions. And so even before the NJCAA existed, I was working at one of the member schools to create an esports program. And at that time, there was no 2-year option. There were other options that were out there, but frankly, they were expensive and didn't really offer the kind of governance and structure that we've come to expect in the 2-year space on the traditional sports side. And so I knew all too well when joining the national office exactly the kinds of questions and interests that were out there, because I myself was asking those same questions just a few months before. And so taking all those things into consideration, Dr. Chris Parker, who's the president and CEO of the NJCAA, was discussing this need and growing interest. And so I immediately went to him and basically said, hey, I'd really like the opportunity to lead those efforts and to lead that charge. And I have some experience in that area. And so he was gracious enough to give me the opportunity to do that. And, you know, I know it's really only been a year, but as they say, the rest is history. I mean, things have just taken off so quickly. And, you know, our registration is open right now for the upcoming season. We've already exceeded last year's participation numbers, and there's still over a month to go in registration. And so, you know, initially we were projecting upwards of 100 to 120 member schools in just our third competitive semester, which would have been fantastic. But, you know, COVID happened. And so it remains to be seen what the impact's going to be short term, but that really was the driving force. It was really the members wanted it. The members were clamoring for it. The NJCAA is a member-driven association, and so we did what our members asked us to do.
That's all you can do.
That's right.
I know that the NJCAA is partnered with CSMG, obviously, but do you mind going into a little bit of detail of what that partnership looks like?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, we work hand in hand with CSMG, not only on the esports side, but on the traditional sports side. On the traditional, well, for both organizations or both associations, they provide sponsorship and development opportunities, assist with marketing, licensing, the whole 9 yards. And so, in a lot of ways, they really take care of monetizing what we do and really adding a lot of value to the members and to being a member. But on the esports side, I'd say that their impact and involvement is even more significant. I work hand in hand with Neil Malvone. Neil Malvone is the vice chair of the NJCAAE board of directors. And as you know, Mia, working at CSMG, I believe he's an executive vice president for CSMG and wears several hats there. But Neil is involved, you know, on a daily basis, he and I, in really shaping the future, developing partnerships, and creating a long-term strategy for the Esports Association. And so, frankly, we wouldn't be where we are right now without the support and the connections that CSMG brought to the table. And their partnership is invaluable.
Gotcha. Switching gears a little bit, how do you see COVID impacting esports based on what we've seen happen with traditional sports so far?
That's that's a really interesting question. As they say, I think that's the $1 million question. The one significant advantage that esports offers, even before COVID, is there's no travel requirement. You know, on the traditional sports side, especially for the larger team sports, the cost of travel is significant, especially if you look at something like football. I mean, you have a roster of, when you take into account the whole roster and the whole traveling squad, you may have 80 individuals, you know, traveling to a game. And that doesn't even take into account the equipment that's necessary as well. And so all that to say, will there be an impact? Sure. But I think the bigger impact is going to be on student enrollment as opposed to the impact on the ability to participate. The other significant impact is going to be on any LAN or local area network events or live events. That, part of our vision, part of our model through these strategic partnerships that we've created, one of which is with Generation Esports, formerly the High School Esports League. They have over 3,000 high schools that are part of their membership. And for us, part of the vision is not only to create this strong pipeline, recruiting pipeline, so that students, high school students, can easily transition to their local or beyond community college, but that we can host these dual events so that we can create a lot of interest, have lots of different kinds of competition and crossover, so that there's just greater interest in not only attending but participating in these events. And travel restrictions and everything else, the likelihood that we would offer those events has significantly diminished. So for example, in the spring, of course, we were planning an event that was canceled. One of the other exciting opportunities that we intend to offer, we plan on having sort of dual or tandem events with our traditional sports championships. So for example, Enid, Oklahoma hosts the Division II NJCAA baseball championship. Well, in the fall, we had planned to host a tandem MLB Heat event. And so we weren't able to offer that event, of course, because the event was ultimately canceled. But again, we're looking for exciting opportunities to bring the community together out to these events, assist our members with recruiting. And COVID has just, completely eliminated those possibilities. But what's interesting is it really can cut both ways, because one of the other impacts of COVID, of course, is, and I think you mentioned you're an intern, so I assume that you're a college student, so you know this, you're living through it now, you can't go on campus. And so opportunities for engagement, student engagement, are not what they were. And there's an old saying in higher education that an engaged student is a student that completes. And so we believe that the importance and impact of esports really can't be understated at this point, because through membership with the NJCAA and our play from anywhere, bring your own device model, schools can join our association for a fixed cost of $1,500, and that's it. And that gets them unlimited access to all game titles for as many students as they want on their campus. And so student engagement is difficult enough under the best of circumstances. Under these trying times, we believe we offer an opportunity for student engagement that, frankly, institutions just aren't going to find anywhere else. But of course, administrators have to balance that with budgetary constraints, right? I mean, if you don't have as many students coming, or if your dorms aren't full, then those are some pretty substantial financial hits that your budget's going to take. But again, we believe the $1,500 fixed cost is well worth the investment and the benefit that not only the institution's going to enjoy, but the students as well.
Definitely. I think a lot of people are leaning on esports and what it brings, and it brings everyone together. So I think that's great. As far as when we think of traditional sports, we think about their long history. Do you think esports will have that same staying power?
I think there's no question. I think of my own personal experience. I grew up playing traditional sports, and I played traditional sports by day and esports or video games by night. I'm 43 years old, but I remember having a ColecoVision and an Atari, Sega Genesis, Nintendo, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4, and an Xbox, and all the different versions, all that to say, there is a long history of video games. And so I firmly believe that there will be a long history for competitive esports. And in fact, as parents start to see the value and benefits from a STEM perspective, and STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math, and a lot of the implications and skills that and the passion that students have for video games, and how easily that can translate to those STEM principles, I think they'll see. I think that's really going to help with the staying power, because right now, a lot of parents don't realize that there are scholarships available for esports. Right. And so, I've spoken with several administrators, Neil Malvone being one, who, as you know, Neil started one of the first esports administration programs, academic programs in a four-year college in the United States. And Neil has shared with me several times that he'll have parents that'll come and say, so you're telling me that my kid's going to play video games all day? And so I think that's a great example of the stigma or the misinformation that exists around esports. And that's really going to be, I think that'll play a big role in transitioning to the next step, because, for a lot of individuals, and myself included, I firmly recall my parents telling me, as a child, that if you want to go to college and get a scholarship, then sports is the way to do that. I was fortunate enough to get to have other opportunities, but I have no doubts that those same conversations are going to be held, except now it's going to be, well, if you want to get a scholarship, you better go play Call of Duty, which of course a lot of kids will be more than happy to hear. So I believe it's here to stay. We're seeing growth in the professional ranks. I think a good example is, as I recall, it was either last year or the year before, there was a League of Legends event held at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, and it sold out in I think 10 or 15 minutes. It was the fastest selling event in the United States, and in South Korea, it's the preeminent. It's more popular than any sport that they have there, and it's quickly becoming the same way here. Viewership is increasing, and sponsorship dollars are increasing. But most importantly, in terms of esports in the collegiate space, parents are starting to recognize the impact of esports. Oh, and I should mention that I was talking about STEM education. The NJCAAE is, we actually recently received STEM accreditation, and we are the only governing body with that accreditation. And so I think that further illustrates our commitment to education and partnership and adding value to the membership. Ultimately, our goal is to assist our members in connecting with not only to get their own STEM accreditation, but to also partner with high schools that have that same accreditation to, again, create that connective tissue so that students can more easily transition from high school to community college.
Definitely. Wrapping up the conversation, is there anything else that you would like to add before we go?
No, I mean, again, I appreciate you having me on. I'm so excited to be a part of the growth of esports in the collegiate space. As I'd mentioned, registration is open now at the NJCAAE. If anyone were to have any questions that are watching, my email address is jwhite, that's the letter J, the color white, at NJCAA.org. Feel free to reach out with any questions. Happy to assist. And just as I said, really excited about what's happening and where we're going, and believe even bigger things are in the future.
I really appreciate your time. It was very insightful, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Mia. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.